It's Keegs and Dan coming to you on a beautiful Canada day. The hot, humid weather has arrived in Toronto, and the Toronto Blue Jays will celebrate by hopefully remembering how to play baseball, because it's something that did not occur on Tuesday. Keegs, I don't even know what you say about a 3-0 loss to the Mets.
Not much. And unfortunately, it's my job to have to say stuff about every game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a little tough. Today's got to be better. I mean, it feels like 46 degrees this afternoon downtown, Dan. So I might just quit my job.
Is the dome going to be open?
Good question. They closed it last year a couple of times for heat, and we're getting to that point. I mean, I am in the press box is in a place that naturally gets a bit of the wind swirl, thank God. And of course it's shady. I worry about John Schneider. If you can find a betting market to bet the over on the redness tone of his face, put the mortgage on it. But it's going to be a tough day down there, man. And the middle game against the Mets, that was just ugly baseball. You know, there was nothing to take away from it. And I don't want to BS people and say that there was. You know, some days it's just a bad, forgettable, nothing day of baseball. That's what that was. Nolan McLean, the Mets rookie, is really damn good. Like, it was just Frisbee-style breaking balls going in all game. But he has allowed runs this year to other teams. He is hittable, and they could not figure this out, man. That was ugly.
Yeah, and the Jays have scored 2 runs in 2 games against a team that they should be opening the flag. Again, all these games, the last 10 games, these are the ones where there's, okay, you can get everything together and nothing is going according to plan. The only good thing, Kevin Gausman returned to form and didn't get lit up, so there's a positive.
He looked great, man, because the last 2 outings for Kevin Gausman were awful.
Yes.
Like, they were as bad as we've seen probably from Gausman in Toronto. And I really want to see Kevin Gausman have a shot to end this 5-year deal, like, on his terms, at his best, making a run. He deserves that. I don't know if I've covered a player who I admire and respect more than Kevin Gausman. Like, when the Blue Jays go out into free agency for the next decade, you're trying to find another Kevin Gausman, a guy who has been worth every penny of his contract and probably double it, a guy who has completely embraced living in Toronto and in Canada, has been a leader in the clubhouse. Like, he has been a perfect Blue Jays signing, one of the best of all time, really. And you never want to see a guy fade late in their deal. I know it's just how baseball works. On a 5-year deal, you're typically paying for years 1, 2, and 3 and just hoping they can play by year 5. Gausman still has that left, man. He really does. I don't know if he plays beyond this season. That's up to him, and he has a family, a couple young girls. You know, it's the temptation of coming back for another 20 mil, I'm sure, is pretty high. But I would love to see him go out at his best this year, at least in Toronto, and do that as part of a wild card chase or run, whatever this is. But I do think that Kevin Gausman is a pitcher who does have that extra gear. Like, I think that down the stretch, he will be able to unlock something a bit more. We saw it in the playoffs last year. And again, last couple of weeks were ugly. Like, they were not good. But this was him again. Like, this looked like Kevin Gausman, where he was controlling the game. Like, it was a Kevin Gausman baseball game. He made one bad pitch. But Dan, like, how many times have we talked about that over the last year? The pitcher was asked to be perfect. And he literally made one bad pitch, like a fastball that hung over the plate. I'm not going to crap on the guy for that. Come on. But when your team puts up a 0, doesn't matter what your starter does. And it feels like a double loss because you are wasting a start that 9 days out of 10 should be a win.
You want some more good news?
Yeah. What's up?
The Cleveland Guardians started their charge last season when they were 15 and a half games back on July 7th.
Dan, if we are looking to the city of Cleveland,
hey,
for
I've been looking all year at them. I'm like, hey, it could happen, but we're now getting to the point where, oh crap, it's got to start very soon if anything's going to happen. So there's the bright spot. The Guardians were 15 and a half games back on July 6th, and then they won on July 7th and took off.
God bless Cleveland. I love getting the Jays schedule every year and looking for that trip and coincidentally taking vacation. It's a beautiful city if the Cleveland Tourism Board's watching this, but man, it can happen. I mean, that's the tough part of this, Dan, is because when I pull up the standings here while I talk, like, yeah, the Blue Jays are playing god awful baseball. Okay.
Yes.
And I feel like it's hard to find a middle ground where I'm actually saying what I believe to be true. Because if I say the Blue Jays are playing god awful, terrible baseball and Vladdy's having a terrible year, I sound like I'm just crapping on the team. And yeah, I kind of am. I also don't want to just say, oh, they're still in it, they're only a few games back, because then you're an apologist. And there's enough of those. Okay. I'm sick of them already. And if you're a Jays fan, you're going to start getting really sick of them because there is too much fandom in coverage. But somewhere in the middle, there's the truth. And it's such a messy season that it's unfamiliar territory. A team that's 40-46 and looks as bad as the Jays have looked the last 10 days, you feel like they shouldn't be within 3.5 games of a playoff spot. Like, I think we're still mentally getting used to what the 3 wildcard system is. Like, it takes a generation of understanding, because for a lot of Blue Jays fans who lived through the teams of the 80s, you're used to your team winning 92 games, and it's a question of whether you make the playoffs. Right now, it looks like you could win 79 and make the playoffs, right? So it's this long, slow mental shift, and I'm not all the way there, to be honest with you. Like, when I think of a playoff baseball team, even looking at the division leaders, the Guardians are 2 games over 500. They're getting close there. The Rangers are 2 over 5. That doesn't feel like playoff baseball to me. Baseball in my mind is still the sport where not a lot of teams get to go to the dance. And you look to optimistic stories like Cleveland last year. Like, the run they made was spectacular. Man. Like, that was pretty cool to watch, honestly. And having Jose Ramirez, a star face of the franchise, out at the front of it is helpful. If there's anyone that you could maybe draw that parallel to in Toronto. But man, you got to get it going now, because it's so crowded. That's the problem for me, Dan. It's not just when you step back and look at it, this wild card race, I don't think anyone's touching the Yankees or Rays, like, up top. That one's handled. But Cleveland, Seattle, Houston, Minnie, the Athletics, Baltimore, Boston even has some weird momentum. It's so crowded. Like, you can't just play better. Like, you actually are going to have to go on a real hot streak, because there's quantity this year.
Has the team had a closed door? Has anything happened behind the scenes that you know of where they're trying to fix it, or are they just going through the motions?
Nothing big and dramatic that we know of. And I mean, John Schneider last year, he said his biggest point of pride was that he did not need to call a team meeting. And I'm a big believer, and I think John Schneider is too, that like a good clubhouse runs itself, but it's not always going to go that way. I mean, there are World Series teams that hate one another. Okay. Like, it's not always going to be peachy. And I think the 2025 Blue Jays have kind of misconstrued in a lot of people's mind, like, the clubhouse that needs to happen for a World Series. Plenty of World Series winners have had rosters full of bad dudes and beef and all this stuff. Okay. It's not always going to be kumbaya, best buddies type of stuff. But sometimes we learn about it, sometimes we don't. I remember going back a few years, Dan, we were in Tampa, and it's easier to find out on the road because the clubhouse is right there. At home, it's so spread out. We're not as close to the clubhouse media-wise. I remember one time we were on the road, and the clubhouse doors were just shut and locked, which they normally aren't. We asked John Schneider. He said, yeah, we just closed the doors and had a meeting. Matt Chapman came out next, and we said, oh, Matt, we heard you just had a closed door meeting. And he was not happy. He said, how do you guys know that?
Because the doors were closed.
Like, well, we're standing next to the doors, dude. Like, it's, there's always that bravado of pro athletes or whatever. But so sometimes it's a big dramatic thing. A lot of the times I think this needs to be on a player level, holding one another accountable. Like, if it's one thing for your boss to check you on something, it's another thing for one of your buddies, your coworkers, to be like, yo, dude, like, pick it up. That can be so much more impactful if you're a young player. Yeah, having John Schneider or Pete Walker come do it is one thing. But if George Springer pulls up to your locker and says, dude, like, we need better from you, that carries even more weight sometimes. So a lot of this can be tiny one-on-one things that we don't hear about. but it's got to be happening, man. Like, especially for players, or sorry, from players like Springer, like Gosman, like Scherzer, like these older veteran players. Like, this might be it. This might be their last shot at a real run in the postseason, and they know how close they were last year. You can't let this one slip, man. If this is your last chance.
Uh, Sean Keys, how's that experiment going? Got called up. They threw him into the lineup over the weekend. He had his first big league experience on Saturday. He plays again. I think he's had about 8 at bats. How have you seen his experience so far going?
Yeah, he gets thrown right in against Nolan McLean and another tough. I almost feel bad for him. He was pretty overwhelmed by Nolan McLean. A lot of guys were, but hey, tough first look. I still want to see Sean Keys get some good run up here. And I think the Blue Jays are coming up this next week or so against a pretty decent stretch of right-handed pitching. So Sean Keys should get that opportunity. But I want as much power in the lineup as you can get, especially now that Addison Barger and his back injury, he's gone for weeks, months, the rest of the year. I don't know. He's not coming back soon. So you want power in the lineup wherever you can. And I think of guys like Hendrik Pinango. Like, you want him in the lineup as much as you can, but his defense is really bad. So you're risking it. I think that Sean Keys can be fine defensively. At first base, I think he can be good. At third base, I think he can be like acceptable. Yesterday was a good example. Before Vladdy got scratched and they had to screw around with the roster, Sean Keys was going to start at third base. And I think that's a useful example because Kevin Gosman was on the mound and the Mets had a lot of lefties in their lineup. That is essentially a recipe for not a lot of balls getting hit to third base. And John Schneider kind of walked us through that thinking, which is like a polished way of saying, like, this is the day we can sneak him out there at third. Hiding a guy is the way you'll hear it said a lot. That sounds harsher than it is, but there are good days to hide him essentially at third base. You don't want him out there when it's a ground ball pitcher and a ton of righties in the other lineup. Then he'll get chewed up. Mm-hmm. But if you can hide him out there and get his bat in the lineup a bit more, Sean Keys has power. And the Blue Jays desperately need that, because if you're going to be stuck in a bunch of 2-1, 1-0 type of games, you'd love to have a perfect offense who's stringing it together and all that stuff. But sometimes you just got to roll the dice on one guy who can take one swing. And Sean Keys is really one of the few players in this roster right now who has that game-changing power. He had 21 in the minor leagues before he was promoted.
We haven't spoken about the Addison Barger news. He was announced he has a stress reaction in his back, and he's been shut down from all baseball activities. Where did this happen? What is a stress reaction in a back? Give us all that you have.
Yeah, so Addison Barger, this whole thing, if I just walk through the hard details, it will be obvious to everyone how kind of strange all of this is. And then I don't need to editorialize things. But Addison Barger was starting his rehab from his elbow injury down in Florida. He was getting close to the point where he was about to start a rehab assignment, but instead of going right into games, he instead came up to Toronto to kind of check in with the Blue Jays staff first, which immediately raised a red flag for me, because that's, why the extra step? I know that an in-person evaluation is important, but then it kind of slowly came out that Barger was feeling a bit of soreness in his elbow at points when he was swinging. Because picture Barger's swing. He really hits the point where both arms are fully extended. He's maxing out his body, his swing. We all know how he looks. So that was the first thing that made me think, like, okay, what's going on? And then that lasted a day, 2 days, 3 days, which is another reason to wonder what's going on. Then we heard from John Schneider, I believe it was yesterday on Tuesday, that Barger now has a stress reaction, which means a stress fracture, a small fracture in his back. And the explanation from the Blue Jays is that this happened when he was doing so much swinging, like ramping back up, swinging over and over. And my first curiosity, Dan, I know the elbow and the back aren't typically tied to one another, but if a hitter is feeling something in their elbow while they're swinging, are they adjusting their body in any way that might end up kind of domino affecting their back? Are you trying to do a little bit more with your torso and your torque, and that suddenly tweaks your back? Maybe. I don't know. But right now, he's going to be shut down for a couple of weeks. And if we have learned anything from Blue Jays injury diagnosis this year, a couple weeks means 4, 5, 6. I don't know what it means, but none of these happen as quickly as the initial diagnosis, period. And this is turning into a lost season for Addison Barger. He has 22 at-bats. They were bad at-bats, so I'll just call it 0. And at this point, you're hoping to get him back, in August? Mid-August? He was supposed to be the upside guy behind Vladdy, behind George, and you've lost him completely. And it's really, really tough. He would have been an upgrade over Jesus Sanchez and the Hendrik Pinango innings as such a good defender on top of what he can do offensively, what we saw in the World Series. So this sucks, man. It's a guy who is so physically gifted, but again, the human body can only do so much. And Addison Barger pushes the limits of that to the extremes.
Every Blue Jay injury this year is a basement home renovation. If they said 4 weeks, it's going to be 2 to 3 months.
Oh, yeah. And it's slow play. And, the contractor will tell you 2 weeks in, actually, we had a huge leak there on the second day, but it's okay now.
Then as 2 weeks straight, they don't even show up.
Yeah. It's been very, it has been interesting. That is the word I'll use that hopefully won't get me in trouble, but it's been a slow play to learn all of the information through the year.
Another bright spot, if you can, it was a bright spot. I felt good watching it. Bo Bichette's reaction. Yeah. That's exactly what the fans, they arrived at the venue with the right frame of mind, and they gave Bo Bichette the love that he deserved.
Yeah, man. It was totally what he deserved and what I wanted to see. And I never doubted it. It's... What's that viral tweet that always pops up where it's like, there's always some guy saying, but I was told Steph Curry can't shoot. Like, I kept seeing people tweeting like, man, if people really do boo Bo Bichette, I'm like, who's talking about doing that? Okay. I think we as a people need to stop seeing one idiot in the replies and being like, everyone's saying they're going to boo Bo Bichette. Like, stop it. Okay. Grow up, be an adult. No, nobody was going to lead this 40,000 person booing of Bo Bichette, okay? And there was this weird moral high grounding of it all. Like, this guy was always going to get a great welcome back. And there'll be a couple idiots who are mad that he took more money, as if they wouldn't. But whatever. Bo will always be loved in this city because of not just the play, but kind of what he represented. He was not a free agent who came midway through his career. So many recent stars are that. Bautista, Donaldson, Martin, Encarnacion, so many pitchers are mid-career guys who were here from ages 28 to 35. The Blue Jays haven't really developed a lot of stars over the last 20, 30 years, and Bo Bichette was one of them. He represented that new era of baseball along with Vladdy, and they were just such a perfect pair, man. Like, they were the prankster and the straight man, like the perfect comedic pair of personalities that mixed. And I'm glad that people got to see that it meant something to Bo Bichette too, because he has been just catnip for body language analysts over the years. And I've covered Bo's whole career. He's just not an expressive dude, and that's okay. But when he says something, it always matters. He's never BSing you. And you could tell that it really meant something to him. So I feel like that satisfied a lot of people who wanted to see more emotion or more expression out of Bo Bichette. And he got another great ovation Tuesday, and I'm sure he will Wednesday again in these finales. I don't think there's any bad blood there. And I think that anyone, if they use their brain for 1 second, can begrudge a guy for taking 40+ million a year to go to the Met. I'll play for a team that doesn't win a damn game for 40+ million. Who cares?
Yeah.
Bo did enough in the city. He got paid. There's nothing to be mad about here.
My favorite thing in the recap video was, oh yeah, all the hairstyles, all the hair lengths. Bo went through all of them.
They were once boys. I had my long hair phase back in the day too. So it's okay. We've all had a bad one.
Thanks, Keegs. Have a great Canada Day, and I hope you survive in the Dome if it's open.
If I don't, it's been a pleasure.